My name is Peter Parker. It was a special day for me. For the 8 years I've been Spider-Man, I have never felt happier. I had to put my suit on for this occasion.
Writing your memoirs?
I had my eye on Kingpin for a long time, as he was the last villain I had to take down, then New York would be safe, and I could retire.
So, should we kiss now?
Life was going great for me. I worked for two great men, Dr. Octavius and Martin Lee, who I knew were going to use their influences to save the city when I retired. Mr. Lee and I actually had a surprise party planned out for Aunt May, who I was grateful to have in my life and for many more years to come. My retirement was short-lived, as Quilt Man broke out of a supermax prison to wreak havoc on the city.
Hi, Herman.
I had to catch him twice for him to stay in prison. That was only the beginning of my problems. Mary Jane Watson, the girl next door, who almost gets killed every single time if I don't show up to save her.
No.
However, she was my favorite damsel in distress, after Gwen Stacy. MJ wasn't completely useless, as she helped me find a warehouse where I was paired up with a once-in-a-lifetime cop, Jefferson Davis, who let me break into the warehouse and didn't make me do all the work like the other ones. The next day, there was a ceremony for Jeff, and he invited me as his guest of honor.
I'm sorry, Jeff.
I arrived to the ceremony as Peter, immediately getting knocked out by an explosion. The next day, I went to Jeff's final ceremony, his funeral. There, I met his son, Miles. I felt bad for him as I failed to save his father. I failed to save mine, so we already had something in common. I went to the feast shelter to investigate Martin's office. Turns out he was in charge of the demons who killed Jeff and other people at that ceremony. I decided to go after Lee, which ended up in the train station with a bomb. MJ defused it and I fought Martin on a train.
You're sick!
The train had innocent lives on there, but I had to ignore them so I could focus on Martin. After locking up Martin, I checked in on Doc. He went clinically insane with the limbs that he built.
Liar!
So I left him in the lab.
You have no idea what you're in for.
I got a call from Yuri that all of my villains broke out of a super max prison. I had to chase a couple of them, which led me to seeing all of my favorite punching bags again. I'm not gonna lie to you, I thought I had them, but they f***ed me up. My biggest mistake of the day came back to haunt me as Octavius was the one behind the breakout. I decided to take a 24-hour nap, which gave Doc just enough time to release the Devil's Breath onto the city. When I woke up from my nap, I knew I had to stop the Insidious Six from destroying my city and my mental health.
Why?
I went after Electro and Vulture first because
Need a lift?
I tried to have a heart-to-heart with Vulture, but I don't think his ears worked like they used to.
What are you babbling about?
Spider-Man! I must break you!
Now, Electro and we understood each other very well, but I don't do long-term, so off to prison they went. The Scary Six turned into the Formidable Four. I went to fight Rhino and Scorpion. I felt like a marriage counselor more than an actual foe.
Beg him to give up? Yes, Doc.
I only had to fight Rhino because he didn't feel like sharing me with Scorpion. I knew the only way to stop a bickering couple like this is to put them in a small, intimate space where they can set aside their differences.
Together time might help you boys learn to play nice.
The Furious Four turned into the Terrifying Two. I had to confront Martin Lee again, which it turned out it was Norman's fault that he turned into that anomaly. As a good-hearted vigilante, I had to stop Martin from taking down Osborn because his son Harry was my best friend and I would never hurt him, wherever he was. The Terrible Two turned into the Ominous One.
Useless.
Now Doc was a menace. He annihilated my pride within a few minutes of fighting him. I could not move 1 inch, but Dr. Michaels and Silver Sable pulled through for me, even though Silver Sable handed me my ass every chance she had. I woke up just to see Aunt May dying on a bed. I could not be the only Spider-Man without an Aunt May, so I sucked up my wounded pride and I headed over to that lab.
Go get him, Tiger.
Since Doc left a mess for me, I thought I'd clean it up by making a suit out of it. I was ready to pound his ass. It turns out he was pounding mine instead. However, Doc forgot that I'm the kind of man that gets what he wants by hurting himself.
I couldn't agree more.
Doc tried to gaslight me into helping him, but I had better things to do.
I've got the cure right here.
Aunt May was hanging on for her life.
Take off your mask.
Despite the flat look on my face, I was pretty torn up. I would have cured her in a heartbeat, but it's better she died knowing I could carry the family legacy as a hero. This story did have a happy ending. All of my villains were locked up in prison for now. MJ and I got back together, and Miles revealed that he was bitten by a spider. That was great news because I could leave for vacation, making him do all the heroic stuff for a while. Or maybe I'll just take that cameo role in Across the Spider-Verse.